Good Sunday morning. Today I'm going to do a book review again. This is called Tipi, The Modern How-To Guide by Javier and Diane Fry Cortez out of Austin, Texas. And this book was published in 2003 and then republished in 2011. If I did my math right, that's like 13 years ago. So I don't know if these people are still around or what, but I bought the book for, it says $10 on the back. I bought the book from Amazon. And I've read it once and now I'm reading it through a second time. For those of you who don't know or care, I've been into teepees since around 1980. That makes it about 45 years now. I made my first teepee in 1980 in South Carolina while I was in the Army station there. And, well, actually I had an awning person make it for me, and then I did she made the main cover, sewed the big long strips together, and then I did the external work where I made the holes for the lacing pins in the door, and the trim on the smoke flaps and stuff. But it's a 12-foot teepee. It lasted a good 6-7 years. I took it down to Panama with me. It got rained on a lot, dry rotted, and eventually I burned it like you do the American flag. The proper disposal for a teepee is to burn it and everything. Well, the proper, according to somebody's value system, I'm not sure who, but this book, okay, my teepee, like most teepees, I believe, is a Sioux-style teepee, which means it's based on a tripod, not based on a quadrupod like other tribal lodges are. And then it's a slanting teepee, so it's not a perfect cone. It slants back with the front being more angled out and the back being a little bit more vertical. It causes the floor to be more egg-shaped or oval-shaped rather than perfectly round if it were a cone. Some of the teepees on the plains, some of the lodges on the plains that are called teepees, teepee being a Sioux term because they're not all called teepees, but that's the easiest word, so we've anglicized it. Some of them are perfect cones, but and some of them slant kind of backwards, I guess is what you would call it, depending on, but most of them are slanting with the front being the longest slope and the back being the most vertical. And so anyway, that was the teepee I got into based on the book called The Indian Teepee by the Lawbins. Now, this book gives step-by-step instructions on how to set one of those up. And it's 90 couple pages long and very brief and very easy to read. And the only other source that I have found that gives good instructions on how to set up a teepee is a video on YouTube by Nomadic Teepee on how to set up a teepee. Altogether, it's an hour and some long, but it's very specific for the three-poled Sioux-style teepee. Doesn't get involved in quadrupods. Quadrupods like the Assiniboine they base it on a quadrupod first. Let me see, I can't think of, man, I should know these things, Can't think of all of them now, but there are, like one of the YouTube videos that I recommend are the Plains teepees or the Plains Indians, the Plains tribes, I'm not sure how it's called, sorry, on YouTube, of Montana, which represents various different tribes of Montana, and then their different types of teepees kind of thing, sort of. Oh boy, this is really going downhill, eh? So anyway, what's good about this book too is in the back of it, it lists resources, and there's a bunch of vendors where you can order a teepee from. There's like 4 there, and 6, 8, 10, 12 different companies. I don't know which one of these are still open or not, where you can get a lodge from. I bought mine from my recent one. I stopped making them. Well, I stopped making them out of canvas. I make them out of tarps and stuff now. But Nomadic's Teepees Makers is who I got mine from. And then there's sources for teepee poles. Again, I don't know if these are still in effect. And then there's magazines, which are Muzzleloader Magazine and Whispering Wind. And then there's a bibliography, the emergency uses of the parachute, an Air Force manual or Army and Air Force manual, number 60-1 from 1945 when the Army and Air Force were still together. And then, of course, the one book that everybody that does teepees knows about, the Indian Teepee, Its History, Construction, and Use by Reginald and Gladys Laubin, who probably, from 1957, they probably saved the teepee, in terms of making it, now you can go to England and Germany and find teepees, by the way. And then there's a couple of other books, Native American Architecture by Peter Nabokov and Robert Easton. I have that book also. That's a beautiful book. And then he lists a muzzleloader magazine, 2 different muzzleloader magazines, because teepees, besides plains nations using them, are mainly used by muzzleloader reenactment rendezvous people. So, but this book, get it on Amazon, $10 if you are into teepees, which you should be if you're not. Great. In my opinion, the best tent in the world. I know some people would be partial more to Mongolian yurt or Mongolian gur, as it's probably more properly called. But anyway, teepees, Tipi, spelled it the way the Lakota spell it. Linguists actually put a THIPI, and then the modernization of English has spelled it TEPEE or TEEPEE. And my versions, when I make them out of tarps, I call them tarpies. So, oh, by the way, I want to make a shout out, like he's never going to see this, but Sean Kelly from Corporal's Corner, he made, one of his videos of a couple months ago, he made a tarp tent, and he made it out of I think it was a 20 by 20 tarp, and he called it the Tarp Mahal. I love it, Tarp Mahal. Yeah, that's great, because I make tarpies most of the time instead of calling them teepees, and they're not all based on a teepee. They're based on sometimes one stick, one pole or 2 poles or something. External bipods and stuff, So if you looked at my videos, you'll know about these things. Oh boy, you know what I hate is when people play with their nose when they're making videos. Anyway, teepees. A Modern How-To Guide by Javier and Diane Fry Cortez. I used to live in Austin, used to live in San Antonio, used to live in El Paso. Hey, more power to you. Really like the book. Thank you very much. Have a good day.